Okay, so today we're going to create our fixture block using Onshape. So this will be our first 3D object. The first thing that I always do when I'm copying an object in 3D is I try to think about the various features that that object has and what are the basic building blocks that we can use to break it down into manageable parts. So I would argue that there are 4 key things that have to happen in order to create this particular object. So dimensions aside, don't worry about that. Let's look at our 3D model here. So we've got kind of a base, okay? So it's not just this piece that's visible, but if we kind of extend that shape out here, we've got this sort of thing going on here. All right, so we've got this base. I would almost call it a base plate at first, although we are going to drill a hole in it. And we've got this riser, this boss that comes up, okay? That's kind of like a half rounded, half straight cut off piece, so that's 2. We've got this web here for support, this triangular piece. And we've got our hole that goes all the way through. If we look at our 2 views on our drawing here, we've got our top view and our side view here. So we're going to start off by drawing out basically this entire base, minus all the internal stuff. So no hole, no line that goes across, no web lines, just the very basic outside. And then we will extrude that up 9 millimeters. All right, so here, and I am working in imperial units here. However, this should work. Actually, what we can do is we can go into our document properties. There we go. Never mind. We can change workspace units, and we can set our units to millimeters. And then there we go. Okay. So now we're working in millimeters. So like I said, we're going to draw out the base first. So our base, the total width here is going to be, so we've got a length of 60 inches. We've got a chamfer here. And then our width is going to be 9 plus 12 plus something. So when we look at our radius here, it's 15, so it's actually 30 tall in this direction, okay? And then 60 this way, plus we're adding our radius here, so another 15. So it's 75 total by 30. So I think the best place to start is we'll just start right here. So we'll draw our line 60 minus 9 millimeters leaves us with 51. Okay, so it'll be 51. Okay, and then we're going to just kind of rough out the shape, and then we'll draw our radius here, and then we'll add dimensions later. So we want to draw that. We use our top plane. So we'll do new sketch. Click top. You can just sort of rough out this shape. It doesn't have to be particularly accurate, but you know, I'm gonna get it close. Add our little chamfer here. Now you'll notice as I go near the center point here, it is trying to lock onto that. We don't want to lock onto that, so we'll just kind of leave that alone. Kind of hover, kind of connect to that there. I'm just going to temporarily draw a line across here so we can add in our circle, and then we'll just trim things up later on. So we'll lock that in, and we'll hit M. We'll trim that away, and trim these 2 chunks away. So we've got, again, our basic shape of just the outside base here. Then we'll start dimensioning. So again, from our center point to our end is going to be 60. We'll dimension from center point to here is 60. I got it pretty close. And then from where our chamfer starts to the end of the object, it's going to be 9 this way. And it's going to be 9 going toward the center as well. From here to here, make that 9. And then from here to here, but this direction, our vertical direction, will be 9 as well. This, I believe, is 12. I'll double check it in a second. Yes, that is 12. And from here to here is also 9. But if we want to make sure that everything's nice and lined up, we also want to make sure that that is 9 as well. Okay, and then our radius here should automatically be 15. So it's already locked in because it's adding these numbers up and getting a total of 30. I could actually leave this 9 off and then just, if we remove our 9 here, move the 15, and then when I dimension the radius, I could make that 15. Okay. Let's make sure we didn't miss anything. So we've got all these defined. This is defined. That's defined. Okay, so the outside perimeter is done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just extrude this little bit up 9. So this is going to be our first three-dimensional thing we've done. So we're going to click, in order to do that, we're going to click the green checkbox on sketch 1. You'll see all your dimensions disappeared, and that's okay. We're going to look. Make sure that we're kind of oriented this way so we can kind of get a three-dimensional perspective on it. And then what we want to do is we're going to go and look at our 3D tools here. And the first one right there after sketch is extrude. So it's asking us a lot of questions in this little box. First of all, we want to create a solid. Okay, we don't want a surface model, we want a solid. This is new material. We're not adding on to anything. We're not removing anything. And we don't want to do an intersect. Okay. We can make this blind. Basically what that means is, are you going one direction, so up or down? Symmetric would go a little bit above the drawing, a little bit below the drawing, but in a symmetrical way. And then these just kind of refer to other geometry. So we'll worry about those later. But blind works for now. Our depth is going to be 9 millimeters. As we from looking at our drawing. And then it says faces and sketch regions to extrude. So it wants to know, what are we going to extrude? So make sure that's selected in blue. And we can come over here and we can click on that. You see it's previewing. If I had lines all across here, there might be multiple faces or sketch regions that I could select from, but I could only do one of those sketch regions. Sometimes you can select more than one as long as they all add up, but I can't make multiple extrusions out of one sketch that are different heights. So again, if we go back to this, I could technically have drawn this line in. So I could draw this in. However, I wouldn't be able to extrude part of this up 9 and then part of this up our total height of 30 here. I would actually need to do it as 2 separate extrusions, so therefore 2 separate sketches as well. So there's no need to add that in right away. All right, so let's go back here, and we will click Accept. All right, there we go. So now we've got our base. So now we want to add that back part, so it totals up to 30. Okay, so we're going to add 21 millimeters onto part of this. So we're going to select the top face of our object, and again, I kind of want to show that we are on the top face here, and we're going to click New Sketch. Okay. We're just going to draw a single line straight across. Actually, there isn't much to it. But what we do need to do is dimension it. So we need to be able to reference the existing edges when we do our dimensions. So that's what this Use, Project, or Convert tool does. So we're going to click on that, and then we can just click on our edge, and you'll notice that now that center point, so now we've got an actual line where our outside curve is here, and now that center point is something that we're able to reference. So if we look at our drawing, the distance from this edge in our drawing is actually referenced off of the center point of this outside radius. So that's the way that we're going to have to make that dimension happen. Technically, we could do some math. We can calculate out, okay, so if this is 60 minus 18, okay, the difference is going to be 42. So I could dimension from here to here is 42. But let's go off of the actual dimensions that are provided. All right, so we'll dimension from this line to here, going to be 18. Wow, I guess pretty close. And then we actually want to go back to our project, and we want to make sure that we're clicking these 2 edges as well, because we've got to make sure that we have a fully enclosed region here. Okay, so you can see we've got lines all the way around. We'll click Finish Our Sketch. Okay, we'll click Extrude. And you see now I've got 2 different areas I can select. Obviously, this is the region that I want to select, but because I did fully enclose this sketch, I do have options here. So we can click, and then now, again, we're adding material this time, and Onshape is smart enough to figure that out. So it automatically switches from new to add. We've selected our region. This is, again, a blind extrusion. We don't want to be symmetrical. If I click symmetrical, it would probably throw an error. Looks like it's going, no, there we go. We'll go back to blind. And again, we want our total height to be 30 millimeters. We've already got 9, so again, that leaves us with 21. So we're going to change our dimension to 21 millimeters. Okay. And we'll just click check. So now we've got that set in place. Plenty of work to do still, but we've got 2 of our 4 elements done. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in our rib here. So there's a few ways you could do that. One, because, oh, I didn't place that properly. If we had our front plane going through the center of this, we could actually create our rib on our plane here. So let's see if we can't do that. Let's right click on sketch 1 and we'll hit edit. I'm actually going to tell it, okay, I'm going to mention from that center point, ooh, that goes right through there. So that's actually going to be kind of hard. We're going to make that 0. Okay. And now this is kind of locked in on that plane. We should be able to do that. And now we see we have our front plane going through this object. So we're going to do a new sketch on our front plane. And we can draw on our web. So let's take a look at that. So that just goes right from this edge right to the very front. And it is going to be, looks like 7 millimeters wide. So all we have to do is use that, that project edge. Okay, so we're going to use that. We want that edge, and we want that edge. And we will draw in a line to complete our triangle. It should develop a closed region. We can just verify that by tilting it. That looks good. Finish our sketch here. Then we can extrude, select what we want to extrude. This is the one, so before we've been doing blind, now we want symmetric. Our total will be 7 millimeters. And it's that simple for the web. The last thing we need to do is add our hole. If we look, our hole is centered up on that curve, and the diameter is 15 millimeters. So all we're going to do for this is right on that top, we're going to click New Sketch. And we're going to use that reference project geometry here. We're going to click our curve so that we get that center point. That's really the important thing that we want here. And then we're going to use our point tool. So we'll click point. And that's all we need to do for this sketch. The reason why is instead of using extrude, we're going to use the hole tool. So we're going to select hole. And it says sketch points to place holes. So click on our hole there. Let it preview. And we see it's going all the way through, so that's good. And then we're going to look at, what's our size? Again, I believe it was 15 millimeters in diameter. And holes are always measured in diameter. So we'll type 15, click on it, make sure that's giving us our desired result here. That looks pretty good. And we will click check. So we have, again, each 3-dimensional feature has a sketch. So sketch 1, extrude 1. Sketch 2, extrude 2. Sketch 3, extrude 3. Sketch 4, hole 1, because it's our first hole. But again, each one has a sketch to go with it. And we've got our entire object complete.